Hello, young Catholic people. Welcome to Living Room Catholic. I'm just kidding. Hi, everybody. We're back after a long summer hiatus. I'm going to try a new thing where instead of just blogging, we're also going to be video blogging as part of the St. Martha Youth blog. I decided to call it Living Room Catholic because, hey, we're in my living room. First thing I want you to know is that it's been like 2 full years since I've done a video blog or created anything on video, so there are a couple of things to watch out for. First, if you can catch me looking at myself instead of in the camera, then you get brownie points. Second, I'm really sick today, and this is the best that I can do, so this is going to be more of a tutorial on how not to create Catholic blogs for young people. But don't worry, just because I'm sick, I'm still able to do a lot of the really important things that I have to do on a day-to-day basis. Hello! It was like a sneeze cough. Today's video blog is going to be more of a Monday Sunday recap like I used to do, only in video form. So for those of you who are new here, every Monday I do a Monday Sunday recap. It's not always in video form, but this time it is. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with the video thing, or if it's just going to be a regular segment, or if we're just going to try it out. Okay, we'll see what happens. Okay, so down to business. Yesterday, Sunday, we read about humility, like a lot. Humility is something I think we all struggle with. First of all, we all need to know that humility is not the same thing as self-deprecation. Humility, in fact, is the same thing as seeing yourself the way that God sees you. As Catholics, we spend a lot of time trying to understand the way that God sees others, but how much time do we spend trying to see ourselves the way that God sees us? Okay, so the first thing that we want to think about, of course, is the first reading, which I have here on my phone in case you couldn't see it. It says, "My child, conduct your affairs with humility, and you will be loved more than a giver of gifts." I mean, of course we love people who give gifts. Why wouldn't we love people who give gifts? I like gifts. Give me presents, yo. But here in the Bible, it says that if you're humble, people will love you even more than people who flatter them with gifts. Really? I'm not sure how much I believe that because I just really like presents, and I like people who give me presents, so... In this case, we have to interpret this as thinking that our own humility is a gift to the world. I don't know if you know the old expression that, like, oh, that person over there, they just think they're God's gift. Well, if you're actually humble about yourself and you're actually humble about your faith, well then, yeah, you kind of are God's gift. You just have to stop kind of strutting around like you are. So in terms of the first reading, yes, being humble is definitely like, hey, stop putting yourself on a pedestal. Who belongs on a pedestal? God belongs on a pedestal, not you. Then we move on to the responsorial psalm, and the responsorial psalm says, God, in your goodness, you have made a home for the poor. Well, especially in today's society, who are the most humble people? Poor people. Are we poor? Well, no, we're not poor. We live in Kingwood. But we also have to remember that being poor can mean a whole lot of different things, just like being humble can mean a whole lot of different things. In terms of humility, there are a lot of places in the Bible where you see that humble and poor are actually interchangeable. We also remember that in the Beatitudes, Jesus says, blessed are the poor in spirit. So it doesn't just mean like, hey, I don't have the latest iPhone, woe is me. But if you take a closer look at the responsorial psalm from yesterday, you actually see, no, this time we're actually talking about poor people. We're talking about widows and orphans making a home for people who have no home. And yeah, we could be talking about spiritual homes, but in terms of actual poverty, we could also do well to remember that there are a lot of people who need financial support, who need food, clothing, and shelter. And not just that they need it, but they need us to provide those acts of mercy for them. In the second reading, I want to focus on one teeny tiny line that when I was reading it the first time, I totally rushed over it. It says, "And God, the judge of all, and the spirits of the just made perfect." Specifically, the spirits of the just will be made perfect. This is a big deal because just in the Bible usually means something really good. Like if you're a just person, then you're a righteous person. So we want to be just, right? Just is good. Just looking at myself in the camera. But here it says that just is not perfect. So, I mean, nobody is perfect. Raise your hand if you're perfect. So this is the main point that I want to get to when it comes to humility. So the readings mostly dealt with humility, and the deacon at my church was talking about humility, especially in terms of what we see in Pope Francis. And you know, I was listening closely because I love that guy. So when we talk about humility, we're not talking about like walking around being sad because we're not perfect all the time. We're actually talking about seeing ourselves the way that God sees us. If you're a just person, then you're a humble person because you're giving justice to yourself as well as to other people. It means being realistic about yourself. Don't only look at yourself with rose-colored glasses, but also don't go around flogging yourself because you think that you do everything wrong. God doesn't see you that way, and neither should you. Alright, so for the gospel, we actually get to the good stuff. I actually call this the good stuff because it's awesome. It is hilarious. Jesus has been invited to a dinner party and he starts like lecturing all of the guests, including the person who invited him, for doing it wrong. So he's actually telling the people at this dinner party that he was invited to stop trying to be the center of attention all the time. In true Jesus form, he actually tells us exactly what we need to hear. So he takes this reading from Sirach and he takes this reading from Hebrews? Yeah, Hebrews. He's taking these ideas and he is telling us exactly what we need to do. Stop exalting yourself. But at the same time, if you humble yourself, you will be exalted. And the point is that that's how God sees you. He sees you the way that he created you. He doesn't see your sin. You're separate from your sin. Stop thinking about your sin all the time. But also think about your sin sometimes, like especially when you're examining your conscience to go to confession. These readings actually struck a big chord with me this week because I'm going into my 3rd year teaching. I actually have confidence now and I feel this strength that I didn't have 2 years ago because I actually know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I have to be really humble and remember that I don't know everything. And there are a lot of people, my parents, other teachers, my principal, the other people at the district, they all know a lot more about this than I do. I know one thing I personally struggle with is taking advice from other people when I didn't ask for it. Here's the thing, I'm really good at asking for advice, especially if I know that I need it, but if someone gives me advice and I don't ask for it, I take personal offense to it. And I'm gonna have to get over that really fast. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my first living room Catholic video, and I hope that it's an adequate replacement for the Monday Sunday recaps. Don't worry, there will also be written Monday Sunday recaps in the future. I was just too lazy to actually sit down and write something. I have a confession to make. I have no idea how to sign off this video, so enjoy a string of bloopers that make me look like a crazy person. I just wanted to remind myself and others, you young people, I'm just... like a ray of sun, burning through my dark night. Lymphocyte. Hey, love! I swore I'd never fall again. This time in the field. That's gonna be fun to edit.